quote, "I do this with love. Please make sure you understand how big your projects are and the commitment they will take." And with that, I posted the sort of like silly image of like, the meme of the lady helping her grandma. And the grandma says, "My comic is going to have hundreds of chapters and dozens of arcs." And the granddaughter is saying, "Sure, grandma, let's get you to bed." And the reason why I made that post is one of the things that I've kind of struggled with helping people is people wanting to make really long series versus like dipping their toes in the pool that is making manga and just jumping in too deep too fast. So with that introduction out of the way, hi everyone, my name is Artcrumbs. This is the 4th episode of my Untitled Diary of a Mangaka podcast. If you're new here, basically what this podcast is we talk about making manga, and I say we because this is an interactive style podcast. While a podcast is audio only because I do post this on YouTube, I definitely encourage you all to jump in the comments and leave me your feedback, thoughts, comments, hockey scores, whatever. I will also be providing questions throughout the series that I will be leaving in a pinned comment at the bottom if you guys want to just copy paste and then give me your answers, whatever. But yeah, like the whole idea here is to discuss something, and if you guys haven't figured it out yet, the theme of today's episode is basically making one-shots versus starting with a series. And I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of it, me included, so don't feel bad. But I had someone like this tweet and retweet it recently. I kind of low-key had forgotten about it a little bit, and I want to go over this tweet. Not to like shame people who responded, but I feel like it's a fascinating discussion because of how people in Japan approach, getting into the manga industry versus how those of us in the States specifically. I'm not sure what goes on in Europe. If Europe peeps, please jump in, provide us with more information. I'm sure we can all learn something. But in the US, there's this really large culture of like just jumping right in and making like a series. Like I'll just go ahead and read the tweet. So like, we all love epics. Everyone wants to be the next Oda or Toriyama or Kishimoto. And these creators had years and other titles like before their legacy titles, like what we know them for. Or multiple legacy titles in the case of people like Rumiko Takahashi. Like many creators have shared their manga plans with me, and a lot of these plans are like 100, 200, 300 chapters long and dozens of arcs. So I'll just like stop there really quick to like provide a little bit more context for like what the rest of it is. I feel like a lot of mangaka, like, and this is exclusively for like their first series, like their first manga ever. Like they've never made a one shot. They're just jumping straight in and they're making like a Naruto or like One Piece level epic to start with, and like not even jumping into the kiddie pool first. Okay, they're just going straight to the ocean. There's like no patience whatsoever to like, there's no brain cells telling them, hey, like maybe I should actually like develop some skills first before I jump like into super deep water. I don't know about you, but I got thalassophobia and I don't like jumping into stuff where I can't touch the bottom, or like I feel so out of my depth that I like will get burned out really quickly, right? Like I like learning about things and studying things and researching things before I jump in. Now, did I jump into a really long series at first? Yes, I am very guilty of this. That's one of the questions I'll be asking y'all later, so I'll get to that a little bit later, but I kind of want to focus on the tweet itself. So the next tweet that I wrote reads, "Mangaka typically have assistants to help work with them. Most of you will likely not have the same level of help. And it's super generous to say that it takes you 1 month to complete the average chapter of 18 pages after your full-time job, and you spend 7 hours a page, my average." I used my average because like I don't know how fast other people work, so like that's why I just use my averages, but like it's true. Like even today, like I wrote this tweet like a year and a half ago, and like that number is still true. Like my average time spent on a page is like 6 to 7 hours. But a lot of that is because one, I'm drawing after I've worked a full day, so I'm tired. You know, like there's only so many brain available. So there's only so much brain available. See, I'm already tired. There's only so much brain available in a day. If you're familiar with the concept of spoons, basically you only get so many spoons a day, and the number of spoons you get a day depends on the day. And I'm one of those people, I have a limited number of spoons, okay? If I'm too tired, I will just go to bed, and then I will wake up with more spoons. But I still gotta get through the day and use up my spoons before I get to the part of the day where I can draw. And so what I've started doing to sort of counteract that is I get up earlier so that I can utilize my spoons in the morning to get work done and then go to work. And then after work, if I'm tired, I can crash and not feel bad about it because I've already done the work that I wanted to do for the day, or I've already done part of the work for the day, so I can take a nap, maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hour nap, and then wake up and do a little bit more drawing and then go back to bed for the day. But overall, like I guess the point of the thread was just like, and we're still going, like the point of the thread was to just sort of share people, like, here's a realistic expectation of, like, as someone who did the dumb of starting with this super long series. For context, my beta readers will know this. My first draft of Godsbane was 800 chapters. So, like I said, I'm speaking from experience. I did the dumb. I had to, like, jump into this pool where I was completely unprepared. I wasn't understanding of what I was committing to or what I thought I was committing to. Like I thought it'd be a lot easier than it was. I just didn't have enough experience to really know what I was getting myself into. But assuming you work alone or you hire an artist without 1 week off ever, like you never take time off ever for yourself, 18 pages a month is roughly 5 pages a week. 5 pages a week is 35 hours with the 7-hour average. That's 40 hours of full-time. So 5 pages plus 35 hours, like, for drawing, and then the 40 hours for the full-time job is 75-hour weeks, right? That 50 chapters will take you 4 years of work. That's 5 volumes. Will take you 4 years of work. 100 chapters will take you 8 years of work. 200 chapters will take 16 years of work. Like, and this is with no weeks off, ever. So those of you who are like, I'm gonna grind it out, I'm gonna finish a chapter a month, and my story is like 500 chapters long, you are looking, like with 500 chapters, you are looking at almost 50 years of work. It's okay to want to do a long story. But if you're planning to work alone on this, or like hire like one person to help you, especially if that person works for free, like this is a tremendous time commitment, right? Like, let's look again at those numbers. If you only needed, say, 5 hours per page instead of 7, 5 pages is 25 hours a week, and then you have your 40-hour-a-week job. That's 65-hour weeks for the next 40 years, you know, for like a 500 chapter story. So like if you guys have never worked 65 hours a week, let me tell you, it's hell in a handbasket. It's not fun, right? Like, it's hellish and it's brutal to do 65 hours a week, even for just a year. Like, at one point, I remember I was working at a gas station and I had 3 different stores I had to manage, right? I was pulling 70-hour weeks regularly, like, between the 3 stores. And I stopped drawing. I stopped drawing. The person who is, like, super freaking crazy and, like, is just go, 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 because after that 70-some-hour week, like, I still had to go home. Sometimes I had to drive 45 minutes just to get home, depending on what store I was at. I had to do, like, normal human things because I lived alone. So, like, I had to cook, I had to clean, I had to take a shower, I had to play with my cat because my cat doesn't deserve to be ignored because I'm tired. So, like, I had to dedicate time to her, and then I still have to find time to sleep and draw, working 70-something hours a week, you know? I broke down. I can show you some of the drawings from that time period, but, like, they are clearly, like, not within my scope of, like, being alive and well. You know, so like if you plan on being like published or picked up, like cool, okay, whatever. But what if you aren't picked up? Like, what if you invest all of this time into this super crazy long story and they don't pick you up? And like, surprise, the longer your story, the riskier you are to them. Like, most publishers only, like, as far as manga, like from what I like have gathered from talking to other mangaka and like talking to like existing publishers, you know, because of my job, like I have that privilege that I can talk to publishers about it. They want low first. Like, indie comics publishers are like 3 or 4 issues, maybe 5, if they're like really generous. That's all they want. Like, that's all. And like with manga, like there's a reason why a lot of manga volumes only go up to like 3 or 4 volumes, because like that's the cutoff for like debuting authors, for new authors, or for any new story really. Like, think about it. Like, if you have this like 20 volume story, like, and if you guys don't know this, like, every volume typically, there are always exceptions, every volume typically sells less than the previous one. So volume 1 will sell the most, volume 2 will sell and then volume 3 may do badly. Or you may be one of the rare exceptions where volume 3 absolutely takes off and completely outsells, because that's where it got popular. But if volume 3 starts taking off, guess what? Volume 1 is going to start taking off, volume 2 is going to start taking off, volume 3 is going to continue to take off, and then you see your success continue to go down from there as you proceed making more volumes. So, like, if you have this like 20 volume story, you are a huge risk to a publisher, and you are a lot less likely to get picked up. So if you are going to do a series, do a short one, please, for the love of God. And like a 3 volume series is 30 chapters at the most. Kind of depends on how long your chapters are. But if you do like a 10 chapter average, you're looking at 30 chapters. If you do like a 8 chapter average, you're only looking at like 24 chapters. So between 24 and I almost said 25, 24 and 30 chapters. You know, it's like a good, healthy starting series, right? Even then, that's a lot of work. Believe me, I'm on my 4th chapter now, and it's so much work. Like, it takes a lot. I mean, I'm also doing a bazillion other things. You know, so like what if the money that you promise yourself or your team never materializes because you get turned down because your story is too long? You're gonna feel like an idiot. And your teammates that you might have promised money to are gonna go, "Bitch, where's my money? You promised me we were gonna get picked up if I worked hard." Like, working hard is not a formula for success. Grindset mindset is not a formula for success, in the sense that like the harder you work, the more successful you're gonna be. Like, that's not true. I hate to tell you it, but it's not true. Like, if you knew that you were never gonna get picked up, if you knew that your shoes wouldn't get popular, would you still make it? Would you still commit to this like 100, 200, 500 chapter series if you knew, like, if you had like future sight and could tell it would never get popular? Would you still do it? And I'm asking, like, not to be a but I'm just asking, like, genuinely, like, it's one of the questions I'm asking you guys. Like, would you still do it? Like, can you like succeed with being ambiguous? Yeah, you can. But like, I'm not seeing too many. I guess like, let me rephrase. I am seeing too many creators like getting burned out lately, because they underestimated the scope of their projects. Like, in my Learn to Draw Manga like sessions. If you guys didn't know, I'm a mentor for Learn to Draw Manga now, and so like I provide, basically what I do is I provide like feedback to the students about their projects. And one thing that a lot of them are learning right now is, especially with like the start of like the one-shot course specifically, like a lot of them are learning how hard a one-shot is. Like, once you work with a publisher, you may not have the flexibility that you have before, because a lot of times deadlines are contractual. Mine were. So like, my contract was I had to meet a deadline by this time, and if I didn't meet the deadline, bad stuff would probably happen. What that was, I don't know. I met my deadline. Well, I mean, yes, but no. I actually got sick while I was working on Onami, and I felt really, really bad, and I was sick to the point like I was in bed. Like I am not easy to sideline. Like I'm the type of person that I will work through being sick because I'm stupid. No, I'm kidding. Like I'm a workaholic. That's why I'm in therapy. I genuinely have workaholic tendencies. At least they're not as bad as they used to be, but that was one of the reasons why I started therapy, was because I was really struggling with like separating the art from who I was as a person, and I only felt valuable when I was working. And so I went to therapy and I addressed it. I was very privileged to be able to go to therapy, but I addressed that. And you know, like I like working with her, I've been really able to understand, like, okay, like this is the level of commitment of your tasks, and what is reasonable for you to do what's a reasonable amount of work for you to do per day, and then set that in my schedule. That's why I have sleep scheduled because at this hour I have to go to bed. I don't get the choice. I have to go to bed if I want myself to be healthy and productive and well rested to be able to work tomorrow. And do the best that I can, because like I also have my community to think about, like my community manager position. I need to be there for the community. That's my job. And I can't be burning myself out and then not be there for them simply because I want to get more pages done. That's really irresponsible of me, so I can't do that. So I schedule sleep so that I make sure I actually go to bed. Do I stick to it? I'd say 99% of the time. If I have like a deadline or like I need to actually get like my stuff done for Godsbane, okay, sure, yeah, I may step an extra hour or two, but it's not a big deal. But when it came to go back to Hanami, sorry, I got distracted. Doug from Up is my spirit animal. I get distracted very easily, so that's why these episodes are so long, is because I'm bouncing from thing to thing to thing. So now you guys know, because I'm recording these and I'm not editing out how I go on tangents. Like I will only edit something out if like it just was completely irrelevant and just not even worth listening to, or if like I didn't like the direction I was going, I'll start over. But yeah, for the most part I don't edit this stuff out, so like have fun trying to keep up with my brain. Now you guys know what I deal with. But to go back to Hanami, I was sick. Like I was so sick that I was in bed and couldn't even get out of bed. Like I lost like 16 pounds in a week because I just like stopped eating, I stopped drinking, and I'm a big girl, okay, I'm overweight, so I can go 16 days without food or with minimal food, no problem. But you know, like I wasn't well, and so I had to email Hisashi-san and say, hey, I'm really, really sorry, I am super sick, I am on multiple antibiotics, I can't even eat right now. Can I please have an extension? And he's like, yep, I got you, you're good. Please focus on getting better. And not all editors will be like that. Not all editors will have such grace. And so, was I really, really embarrassed that I had to do that? Yes, I actually cried about it. After he emailed me back, I cried about it because I was so grateful to like be given that chance to rest, but I was also very embarrassed because we all hear about how particular like Japanese culture is about meeting deadlines and getting things done. But Hisashi-san has always been very good about making sure that I'm rested and I feel good. To give a more recent example, last year, towards the middle of December, the middle of November, my family lost 3 cats. One of them I was in the middle of adopting. My stepmom was more or less a foster, and I was going to adopt a cat from them. And I mean, basically, like I had my house ready for him, my apartment. I had my apartment ready for him. I had my deposit ready. I had extra bowls and food. I had extra like snacks that I knew that he liked. Like I was ready to bring him home. But he hadn't gotten a clean bill of health yet, and so my family didn't feel comfortable like letting him come home with me. They wanted him healthy first because Miso already is really prone to illness, and so we didn't want like whatever he had, you know, going to Miso, my current cat. And he ended up not making it. We ended up having to let him go. because he had been on like the highest level of medications, and like basically more or less like it looked like a resistant infection, and I didn't get to bring him home. And then like less than a week later we lost 2 more for the same thing. And that was really hard because I was so ready to bring Yoshi home. And I had literally like a few weeks before submitted the idea for my next one-shot to Hisashi-san. And I had to email him, like he'd already given me approval to go ahead and start the drawings. And I had to email him and say, Hisashi-san, here's what's happened. I don't think I can work on the story anymore because the main character in that story was a cat. And so he's like, that's fine. You shouldn't work on something if your heart's not in it. So take all the time that you need and come back when you're ready. And I'm ready. I have a new story that I'll be working on. I am working on. But like that was a situation where like I recognized that there was no amount of rest, there was no amount of discipline that would get me through finishing that particular story. So I'd step back, and there are going to be times like that. And so all of that basically to say that you need to be cognizant about what you're doing, how much commitment you're making, and how much energy you're spending on these things. And if you're okay with that, and I mean, if you're okay with writing a 200 chapter story as your first manga that you've ever made, I genuinely wish you good luck. It's not an easy feat, and to truly actually understand how much work you're putting in and to push forward through that anyway is extremely admirable, even if somewhat foolish and reckless. It's a lot of work, and that was some of the things that I saw in the comments, which is why I wanted to talk about this in a video. Is a lot of people were really upset about the fact that I was telling them, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you can't tell me what to do, you're not my real dad. You know, so like, you know, if you have the passion for your project, like you like do anything you can to keep that passion, to keep that excitement, right? Like that passion, that love for what it is that you're doing is your most powerful asset. Like it can grow weak at times, like it has done for me in the past. It can come back and be like brighter than any flame you've ever had. So like protect that passion by planning things, or at least having an estimates and being prepared. Just like protect it with knowledge that you understand what you're getting into. Like passion will like pie in the sky idealism will only get you so far, and like the idea of how cool something is will only get you so far, like especially when reality sets in. You can also see this in YouTubers, where YouTubers will say, well, I want to do this and I want to do that with my channel, and I want to do this and I want to do that, and then they like figure out how much work it actually means to be a YouTuber, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, I give up. Same concept, right? So like, be smart. That was all I was really trying to say in this particular thread. And now again, this is a year and a half old. We have 1.2 million views, like 5,000 bookmarks, like almost 4,000 retweets, and 174 comments. So like I can't read all of the comments on this, but like some of the ones that I found were really interesting. Like I ended up having to mute it because there was just so much going on. And like one of my friends made a good comment. Rosanath, who creates Division 5, said I can at least finish my novel version of my comic while my comic is planned to be roughly 1,700 pages. I'm casually downsizing and cutting things out from my comic as well to make it more manageable so the pages will be less. That's also another option if you're in the middle of your story and you're suddenly realizing that it's too much. Like, you can choose to rework it then and there. I've done that with Godsbane. Godsbane used to be, like I said earlier, used to be 800 chapters, and now it's down to 40 max. Which is a more reasonable, like 1,200 pages if I do my brain math correctly. So it's not near as many pages. It's far more reasonable, and it's more pitchable to publishers because it's only 4 volumes. I'm pushing it with 4, but I'm still going to pitch it to Viz, so we'll see how that goes. There was another one that said, oh, my comic is 60 chapters, like they've finished 60 chapters, and that's like its first arc, and 60 chapters is incredible. And also to say that this particular creator, Hetty Pigeon, is one of the most positive people I've ever met in like the comic and indie manga community. They are constantly commenting on other people's posts. They're always like leaving positive positive feedback. They go out of their way to like bring positive moments to other people, which is one reason why I wanted to highlight their comment. But also that's an incredible amount of work. And so, like, shout out to you, but I could never do something that big. It would be way too stressful for me. I had another person that said, this is a very motivational post for me. Thank you for this. I'm currently planning a 5 to 6 year webcomic project because I love me a long series, but I need proper planning and work schedule. And then I said, sometimes starting big, like with a general outline, like you said, and slowly filling in the middle can really, really help. So like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I'm not going to be against people having that long series. I just think like you should be smart about how you approach it so that you don't end up like burning the candle at both ends and end up like burning out literally or metaphorically. And then like this is one of the comments that I got that said, hey, it's me, I'm grandma, but I'm a grandma who can't draw. I don't envision it being a career or a weekly release option, but that's a passion project that I really want to make happen someday. And so I asked them, I said, why does it need to be a weekly release? Lots of mangaka will do monthly or every other month. And they said, oh, it doesn't. I just plan to release them as graphic novels. Which I can't imagine doing a graphic novel every week or every month. But I just felt it was good to they were thinking about this, like they're thinking about their options. So that was really great as well. All right, so another comment that I kind of want to talk about, or another comment here from Natasha Nightmares. She said, yeah, I imagined mine as a very long story without knowing what it meant, and I'm pretty burned out of it. I haven't worked on it in months. Now that it's a year and a half later, I hope you're still working on things. I hope you've gotten that flame back. A situation not helped by unemployment, job searching, and no readers, lol. I'll see what happens from now on, and I might try and trim it down. And then I responded with, I think it's better to be more forgiving with yourself about it, and take a break if you need one. I had a period of 3 years where I barely worked on Godsbane due to having a full-time job, an internship, and commissions. Don't feel bad about a break, you deserve it. And they responded, thank you, I needed to hear that. I just want to make other things with the time I have available, I guess. Being an artist is a constant struggle, isn't it? And it is, absolutely. Like, we're always having to think about things that we're doing. We have multiple things that are going on. And like I pointed out earlier, and Natasha pointed out here, you will have other things going on, especially being between jobs. And if you don't get any readers, like, are you still going to want to continue? If you're not getting the readership that you want, is that passion going to be enough to fuel you to keep going? Like, you have to genuinely ask yourself that and not go, oh, well, I'm sure, like, I'm absolutely going to get some readership. What if you don't? Entertain the idea. Amuse me. Even though I can't, like, be there and, like, genuinely talk to you one-on-one, face-to-face about it. Like, amuse the idea. Entertain the idea that you don't get any readership. Or you don't get the readership that you want. Can you still go? Can you keep going without it? But let's look at some questions. So, was the first idea that you decided to actually start drawing? Like, what you first acted on? Was it a series or a one-shot? The reason why I mean, that seems kind of like a nothing burger question, but the reason why I'm asking that is if you started with a series, did you actually get overwhelmed? And what specifically about it was overwhelming for you? The first idea that I worked on was absolutely a series, and it's called God's Bane. I started God's Bane 15 years ago. Almost 16. It'll be 16 in February. So by the time you guys see this, it'll probably have been 16 years. February 14th is its anniversary. Was like, and the reason why I picked that date is like February 14th was specifically the day that I turned in my first project to school. I was in my animation degree at the time that had Auk on it. And like I had to do character designs for Auk, and Auk was initially the main character. So he was Aros was not always the main character, and so that's why I could have considered that the anniversary. But yeah, I made that mistake. I absolutely made that mistake, and eventually I realized that was a mistake. And once I learned about the concept of one shots. I did a couple short stories. I mostly just wrote them. I didn't necessarily do a lot of drawing, but I realized that having a story that's 800 pages and not knowing how to actually make manga, it was a bad idea for me to start working on that. And so I started focusing more on developing my writing skills and doing short comics, like only a few panels long, maybe a couple pages long, just like silly little dumb stuff with my characters or fan arts or basically fan comics. I've not really posted a lot of them. So most of them remain buried in my hard drives because I didn't feel like I had to share them. They were for practice. They were me learning things and also I felt like they weren't very good. So I never posted them or shared them. But yeah, so that for me the answer is a series. Have you made any one shots so far? Why or why not? If you haven't made a one shot yet, I'm curious to know why. Some of the folks that I talked to within the thread on Twitter were more like, well, I don't enjoy making short stories, and that's reason fair enough. That's a completely valid answer. For me, the reason why I started making one shots, and I've made I'm not going to count the multiple attempts on Onami. If I wanted to count them, I've made about 10 different one shots. The majority of the one shots that I've written are lore stories that would be for God's Bane or Onami, because they're part of the same universe. And a lot of them I mostly just did the name for, I did sketches and stuff. I didn't actually finish them. So as far as have I finished any one shots yet, I've only finished 2. And both of them are Onami. The version of 2020 that I made when I submitted to the Shonen Jump Tezuka contest, the really big one, and then the Onami one shot that I did with Viz. So as far as how many have I made, how many have I started, 10 total. About 10. I think it's 10 or 11. I'm not sure if I ever did the sketches for one of the one shots that I wrote, so I'm pretty sure it's 10. It might be 11. But as far as how many I finished, it's only 2. I finished all the way through, got the pages done, and called it a day. As far as why I wanted to do one shots, mostly because the initial reason why I just wanted to do a contest. For a short period, became obsessed with making one shots, and so I did the sketches for a lot of the other short stories that I'd written, but I've never finished any of them. Do I intend to make any? Yes. Yeah. I've already started my next one with Hisashi-san. And I've got a whole bunch of other ideas that I could work on. I don't think any of the ones that are related to God's Bane or Onami, I don't think I'm going to submit any of those to the Viz one-shot program. The reason being that when I was talking with Hisashi-san about how well Onami performed, he suggested that it would be better to avoid any story with characters that I was already attached to, because I already have a history with those characters, and because I've had these particular characters for such an incredibly long time, well over a decade, I know them as if they were like friends of mine, right? Like they're my buddies. I know them so intimately well, as far as like who they are as people, what their goals are, that he felt that possibly I struggled to communicate that to the reader, or I forgot to communicate those things to the reader in general. Or there's just too much lore to fit in a box. The box that is the one shot. And so he recommended that I do a new story with new characters in a new world that's completely unrelated. And so that's where I'm working on now. So I'm really excited for that. So that's the podcast for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys had a good time listening. I hope you guys, learned some things and had fun. I will for sure add a link to the original tweet in the like pinned comment that will also contain all of the questions that I asked today in the video. If you guys are in the podcast, you can tell I'm used to saying video. But yeah, all of the questions, the link to the original tweet, whatever, will be located in the pinned comment. I'll also include them in my video description as well, just both locations, just in case. But yeah, I thank you all so much for being here. If this was your first video and you made it all the way through, you rock. You're amazing. And I love rocks. So like, it's a double win there. So yeah, if you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you don't want to miss any of the videos, go ahead and hit the bell. If you don't, YouTube will only recommend videos that it thinks you'll watch instead of recommending you all of the stuff that I post. So yeah, make sure to do that. I would appreciate it, and I'm sure you will too, because you won't miss anything. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for being here. This has been the Unlimited. It is unlimited. It's almost a 60-minute video. The Untitled Diary of a Mangaka by Artcrumbs. And I will see you guys next time. Take it easy and have a wonderful day. Ciao.